We have had so many things that have happened to us in the last 2 years that a lot of people have said that, well, there's a new survey that said they just haven't really found any happiness or joy. 25% of Americans say they've forgotten what it means to feel truly happy. That's a little disturbing.
It
to
is.
hear
It's
that.
sad. It's what it is.
Awstin Gregg joins us. He's a licensed clinical social worker and the CEO of Connections Wellness Group. Awstin, thanks for joining us on WBAP.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Why are so many people unhappy?
You know, the study that came out is really suggestive of what we're seeing here in our practice, too. And I think you nailed it right on the head. These past 2 years, it's been a series of one thing right after another that's kind of kept us in a chronic sense of stress. And as humans, we're pretty good at surviving long-term distress, but inevitably we might look up after a period of time and start to wonder, well, when's the last time I felt happy?
You know what? It's almost like people want to be unhappy. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, you know, people, I think, want to be exposed to what's going on in the world, what's happening in social media, what's in the news cycle, and that's a healthy behavior to stay informed, but if we're not careful, it could be overwhelming to some people after some time.
I would imagine something like this wears on you. It kind of drags you down, and you start rethinking about how you're living your life. You know, at some point, you get dragged down by the stress and such, and you wake up and you say, I got to do something about this.
You absolutely do, and it's a great place to be, to just kind of be a realist and say, this is how I feel, is not how I want to continue feeling, and I'd like to do something about it. That's a really encouraging conversation.
All right, so I'm unhappy. I'm going to leave here when I get off the air, and I'm unhappy. What do I need to go do first thing today? Where should I start?
I'll give you a low-hanging fruit where to start. I would be willing to debate that a lot of us have lost the skill of relaxation. I know that sounds silly, but if we're sitting on the couch on the weekend, being still, watching TV, but our mind is racing on what does Monday have in store for us, or we're reliving the events of the week that we just lived, or maybe we're scrolling and we're reading up and we're catching up on things that are stressful, like recessions, inflation, the war in Ukraine. Although we might be still, we are really not relaxing. And without that, we're not rejuvenating ourselves. And next thing we know, we start the next week at a deficit. So
Wow.
I think the first skill there would be, hey, are you sure you really know how to relax still?
Well,
So
Hal was just going to go to the liquor store.
That's what I was looking for. So maybe you go out and play a little golf or go bowling, go call some friends and meet for lunch or something. That kind of relaxing?
You know, I think it is. I think that sense of connection, the sense of hobbies, whenever we have stress, we have our neurochemical that weighs in on our brain, and we have to offset those. And so physical exercise is a great way to do it. Having connection with people that we trust, that we enjoy being around, all of those things could indeed be skills that allow us to offset the stress effects.
Awstin Gregg with us, the CEO of Connections Wellness Group. Now, this is an interesting time in our history, Awstin, because we are starting finally to discuss mental health in this country. We've seen violent actions taken by people who clearly have mental health issues. And I guess it's relieving in some respect to know that we're finally looking at this as part of our overall health picture.
I completely agree. Any conversation that allows us to increase our health, whatever the domain, we're going to improve ourselves. And so many people for so long have lived in kind of the darkness and the silence. They just haven't talked about it and had needlessly suffered with something that is absolutely treatable.
So what do we do, and why has mental health taken such a hit? It seems like this isn't just the last 2 years. It seems like it's taken a downward turn for quite a while now.
Yeah, so for a long time, people lived with this stigma or this idea that if they said, hey, I might need some help with this, that they were lesser than the person they were standing next to. And the idea of being, quote unquote, found out for going to a therapist was more painful, in their opinion, than just living with depression, anxiety, and mental health. And so that paradigm is flipping. We're having healthier conversations, and people are getting well, and an economy and a community that is healthy is good in all senses of the purpose.
So is mental health more of a problem now than it was, say, 30, 40 years ago? Or is it just more up front where people realize it?
You know, I think it's probably been present all along, but we're getting to a point where people are actually willing to say and describe their scenarios. And a lot of people are saying, you know what, I feel the same way. Some statistics from 2021 suggest that mental health is more common than the common cold.
How about the happiness factor? I'm talking about the haves and the have-nots. If I wake up every morning going, boy, I wish I had my own private jet, I hate life. As compared to waking up going, golly, I woke up. Thank you, God. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're right. It's such a great perspective to have. We can always, no matter our situation, envy what we don't have or describe the things that we want that we currently don't, or we can have a self-reflection to have, hey, this is what I have. It's what I'm grateful for. Both of these conversations are okay to have, but if we attach our happiness to things that we don't have, then we're in a losing formula every day.
You know, I have a very close relative who unfortunately has lived her life in a state of depression, and every time I see her, life is terrible, there's nothing good, and I get the impression that a lot of it is that's where she's comfortable. Is that even possible for people to be comfortable being miserable?
You know what? It absolutely is. It is familiar to us. We know how to be and feel this way. What is unfamiliar is doing the work to allow us to get out of this place. And sometimes you attach the stigma to it, and it becomes something that we say, oh my goodness, that might be overwhelming. And although this is not a pleasant experience, it is familiar to me. And therefore, I get that to be comfortable, and I kind of stay there sometimes.
Awstin Gregg is a licensed clinical social worker, the CEO of Connections Wellness Group. They provide affordable family and youth mental health counseling services, something that I would imagine is going to keep you very busy for the next few years, Austin.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. We appreciate you coming on.